All right, so this is just my ride home. My initial impressions, the wireless is actually more convenient than I thought it was going to be. I kind of like it. The display is way better. I was long overdue to upgrade the display on this stereo to something more vibrant and saturated with the top open. I can see it a lot better. And the sound quality, initial impressions, it's a lot smoother overall. Best way for me to describe it is it almost sounds more fluid, where compared to my Kenwood was almost like a little gritty. Definitely more enjoyable to listen to just drive around. And I'll do more in depth. All right, so those are my initial impressions. More to come.
Like so many in the car audio industry, my audio system has evolved over the years as I've acquired different pieces of equipment. And every time I do something new, it's always exciting and refreshing. The current configuration is that I have an older set of Morel hybrid Elate components. We're talking from like 2008, 2009. In the rears, I have an older set of Morel hybrid 602 Integras. I have the Mosconi Pro 530 5-channel amp. That was an upgrade from about 2 years ago. And I've got the JL Audio 12W6 in a ported enclosure that John built that sounds fantastic. So I was really excited to hear how the head unit would change the dynamics of my current configuration. And I was not disappointed. This was a complete game changer. Over Labor Day weekend, John finally had a chance to install my Sony XAV-9000ES in my 2014 Jeep Wrangler. Finally upgraded that old Kenwood DMX7704s that was long overdue. I had that radio for about 7 years. The night and day difference between this Sony and that old Kenwood is kind of hard for me to describe. It's been transformative. It really has. It's an entirely different listening experience. But before I get into the sound quality, let me just go over some of the practical differences that I've noticed. The actual vibrancy of the screen on this 9000ES, it's so much better than my 7704S old Kenwood. It's so much more vibrant, so much more saturated, a lot easier to see in bright sun and bright glare. So I'm really happy just about the practicality of being able to see this touchscreen. It's a great upgrade. The other cool bonus was, and I wasn't expecting, is now I have backup camera guidance lines that turn with the wheel. I don't really care about that so much, but I was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of a cool bonus that I didn't know I was going to get with this. And the speed. I had a lot of concerns about wireless connectivity just because I had some issues with it in the showroom, but we have a lot of different devices in the showroom, so I kind of thought that could have been part of my connectivity issues. But in the car, it connects pretty much 90% of the time right away when I start it up. If by chance it doesn't connect when I get in the car, like if I remote start my car and hop in, I just go into the Bluetooth settings and tap it on my phone and it connects right away. So that has not been an issue whatsoever. And the interesting thing I found is when I'm like skipping tracks, it's actually faster on this wireless than the old Kenwood. And that could be just because I had such a long USB extension. I think I had like a 6-foot USB extension with the Kenwood. So it could have just been a little laggy. That was a really pleasant surprise, as well as just how fast the wireless connection is. I thought that was interesting. One of the quirks I found with Apple CarPlay is that when I'm getting a text message coming through or GPS directions are coming through, I've noticed that it doesn't actually pause the music. Text mom cell.
What do you want to say to mom?
Hey mom, I'm just testing something out. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Love you, bye.
It says, hey mom, I'm just testing something. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Love you, bye. Send it. Done. Mom said cool, so nice to see you too, Annie. Hope John isn't too pissed at me. And sent a grimacing emoji. And said love you too. And sent 3 heart emoji. Would you like to reply?
No, thanks, Siri.
My old Kenwood would pause it. John's Stinger High 10 pauses it. And pretty much like most of the CarPlay head units that we've sold and installed, like when testing, I feel like they're all pausing it. So I haven't figured that out. I think that is possibly an Apple thing. And it could also be that it's wireless. I don't know if that would make a difference. I don't know. Let me know if that's something that you guys have come across, if there's a way to change that so it actually pauses the music when you're getting text messages or GPS directions. I'll have to do some more research to see if I can figure that out. The reality is, though, that that's totally not a deal breaker. It's just something I noticed that might bother some other people. I don't really care because it sounds so good.
When I initially connected my iPhone, I did have trouble with Siri sending messages or listening to me. She would cut me off. She wouldn't give me enough time to actually dictate what I was trying to say. And I found that kind of interesting that I didn't have this issue with the Kenwood. And it turns out it's actually a setting in the iPhone under the accessibility menu under Siri dictation. I just had to change how long she was waiting for me to finish speaking. So if that's an issue that you found, just change that setting in your iPhone. It should resolve that. One of the most immediate and dramatic differences that I noticed was the bass response. All of a sudden, the subwoofer was so much tighter and more accurate and just dialed in. Everything overall is way more dialed in, but that was a huge difference that I was not expecting and very excited about.
Overall, the biggest impact the stereos had is the sound quality upgrade. I went from having a very almost gritty sound, like sandpaper is how I would compare it to. Now with the Sony, everything is much smoother and much more separated. I don't have time correction on. I just a really basic quick EQ, kind of based on what I liked on my previous settings. We haven't had time to do an RTA setup on this. Just with a quick EQ, I'm still blown away with how separated all of the instruments are. I mean, it kind of sounds like I have time correction on just because the spatial orientation of everything, it's very dynamic, and there are so many elements and recordings that are popping out that weren't there before, or they were very muted. It's kind of like going from black and white to color, and not just any color, like having a pop art filter like Andy Warhol, like in your face color. It's so much more vibrant and lively, and it's a completely different experience. And it's honestly been a journey for me, that just listening to the stereo and all of my music. I'm rediscovering everything almost for the first time. And it's actually been kind of a really emotional thing. And a really good song should move you. It should give you chills. It should create this, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like it brings out this primal emotion out of your gut. It kind of just, for me anyways, when I'm listening to something that generates an emotion, it comes up out of like my spirit, my most inner part. And this Sony stereo has made me kind of a mess this week, because music is such a huge part of my life. And just to give some context, this Jeep is also very sentimental. I haven't shared this with anybody, so you guys probably don't know, but this was my brother's car. And growing up, music was always a part of our lives. You know, I had the piano growing up in the basement that was there, and started with the piano lessons, and then I moved on to clarinet, and then it was flute, and then it was guitar, and then it was bass guitar. And I was in bands. I was in 2 different bands from, the time I was 13 years old to 17 years old. So playing in these 2 different bands kept me very focused and kept me out of trouble. And it was really good discipline, and it was a lot of fun. And I had amazing parents that supported me with my musical aspirations as a kid. And so supportive that they would let me go to concerts at a very young age. When I was 13 years old, my mom took me to New York City. She surprised me, and we didn't have tickets. She just took me on the train and said, okay, we're going to go see Foo Fighters. And we got in line, and she went up and down the line, and she found some people that had extra tickets and bought them. And I remember one guy was like, are you a cop? And she's like, no, I'm just trying to get some tickets for me and my daughter. And it was the coolest thing. I got to meet Dave Grohl. I got to get posters signed. I got my journal signed. I got pictures. And later on, I had a friend that I played in with the band, Jesse. We got to meet Garbage, Butch Vig, and Shirley Manson. And it was such a powerful part of my childhood. It really was. Music has always been a huge part of my life. And one of the really awesome things that my parents used to let me do is go to concerts with my older brother, Mike. He took me to a lot of concerts, and it was a lot of fun. And my parents just kind of let us do what we wanted. You know, it was like, okay, watch your sister, go have fun, be careful. And we live in a different world where I don't think you can do that anymore. And I'm very grateful for those experiences that I had. They really, really shaped me as a person. And one of the things that's making me so emotional about this stereo upgrade is this Jeep belonged to my brother. He bought this vehicle after seeing how much John loved his 2013 Wrangler. John and I were car people. I mean, we were leasing cars. We had cars every 2 years. We were changing out something else. And then we finally got this 2013 Wrangler. We're like, this is the car. This is the best car we've ever had. We don't want to have any other cars. You can have one car for summer and for winter. You can have a great stereo system in it. It's tons of fun. And that inspired my brother Mike to buy this 2014 Jeep Wrangler. Music was a way that Mike and I bonded. He always had great stereo systems in his car growing up. You know, he was doing car stereo before I did car stereo because he got his license first. That was just something that he would have upgraded in his car because he liked music so much. Later on in life, I finally got him to come and work with me at the shop, and it was so much fun. We had such a blast. But it was short-lived. He passed away very unexpectedly. March 17th, 2017. Music is just one of the many ways that we connect as human beings to the people that we love. And not only is it a way to connect with others, but it's also almost like a time machine. When you listen to older recordings, things that you were listening to when you were younger, it kind of brings you back to those experiences. It's a way to almost prove to yourself that yes, you had those experiences, those were real. It's almost like a photo album where you can look back, but you're listening back, if that makes sense. You're listening back in time. And I guess the whole point of me telling you all of this, I really don't like to get personal. I actually don't like it when other YouTubers get personal, but this stereo is so good. The sound quality is so good that it has brought out so many experiences and emotions from so many years ago when I was growing up that I just haven't thought about because it just wasn't coming through with the old system. It's like I was hearing all of those songs again for the first time as a kid and having all of those amazing experiences, going to the concerts, playing in bands, playing shows around the area. I have this creative background, and making these videos is kind of my way of getting back into art and music, scratching that creative itch that I have deep within. And believe it or not, it's actually really hard for me to make these videos. I don't like putting myself out there. I'm very self-conscious. I constantly worry about what other people think because I care so deeply. And that's one of the reasons our business is so successful is I truly want everybody to have an amazing experience. And John and I both take it very personally if somebody isn't happy for whatever reason, and we will go beyond to rectify it. We will bend over backwards to do whatever we can to make sure that somebody is happy because we care. And the whole reason I push myself to make these videos is in honor of Mike, because I think one of the best ways we can honor our loved ones that have passed is to do those hard things that we don't want to do. We have to push ourselves to grow beyond our comfort zone. And I owe it to him to be the best person that I can while I'm here and to help as many people as I possibly can while I'm here. The impact that this stereo upgrade has had on me has been really dramatic, and I think for anybody that's looking for a high fidelity audio system, this is definitely a head unit to consider. I am so thrilled with it. If you are looking to transform your car stereo listening experience, if you are interested in hearing the music as the artist actually intended it to sound like, you gotta check out the Sony XAV-9000ES. I am over the moon with this transformation. I find myself just wanting to keep listening to my music, where before I was kind of sick of all my music and I was actually listening to a lot of podcasts. And now it's just like, okay, oh yeah, I remember this song. Oh wow, this song, wow, I don't remember hearing this instrument at that point in the song. Where did that come from? It's almost like these layers. I'm going from 2D, like flatland, to 3D. Everything is coming up out of the air, up off the paper, right? Up off the dash, where before everything was just kind of flat and smushed together. Now it's all come to life and blossomed up and sprang up and all around me. None of that is technical jargon, but I hope it all makes sense. I hope I'm describing it in a way that is doing some kind of justice for the sound quality of this radio.
A great stereo should move you. It should stir something deep within your soul, conjuring up a steady stream of emotions with each song that you hear again for the first time. A great stereo can bring back memories of all the great experiences you've had and all the amazing connections that you've made along the way. It might make you happy, it might make you humble, and it might just make you cry. It will pull out whatever it is that you have stored deep inside. And if you're not inspired by your car stereo, perhaps it's time to upgrade to the Sony XAV-9000ES.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this content. And if you have the Sony XAV-9000ES in your vehicle, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I'd love to get your feedback. See you guys next time.
Beautiful